So in today's video, we're going to focus on the top weapons currently available in Modern Warfare. And as I do with pretty much any of my weapon ranking videos, I'm going to include a best class setup for each. And there will be a list with the timestamps for each of these individual weapons in the description as well as in the comment section. Also, a quick reminder, if you do enjoy the content anyway, please do me that favor of hitting the like button. And if you're brand new to the channel, or one of the 84% not currently subscribed, definitely consider clicking that red subscribe button, turning it to gray with notifications on so you get an alert every time I post a brand new video. So personally, anytime I try to make a ranking video on the channel, I try to be as objective as possible. In today's video, I'm even going to take it a step further by actually showing you guys where I get all this information. I'm actually using a Call of Duty stat tracker, which is recently implemented for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which actually tracks the popularity of a specific weapon, the overall KD, as well as the overall accuracy and the headshot percentage. So starting off with that number 10 spot is actually going to be the HDR, which is actually the only sniper rifle on the entire list with a 1.09 KD. And that number actually represents a well above average KD when you're actually looking at the entire community as a whole. And what I mean by that is, in a perfect world, the average KD for Call of Duty would be a 1.0, because every time I get a kill, someone else gets a death, and that ends up averaging out to a 1 KD. But since Call of Duty is in a perfect world, people take tons of accidental deaths, whether they're falling off an object and they're not able to deploy a parachute, or they just blow themselves up with some kind of lethal. So with that being the case, obviously the overall KD is going to be a little bit lower, maybe a 0.95, 0.97, whatever it is, it's going to be slightly less than 1. And then if you went ahead and took this number for every single weapon and put them on the list, you'd notice that there's some big old gaps because there's always going to be outliers. Weapons that perform well above the average of the weapons, and there's weapons that perform well below, and it's those weapons on the outer edge that typically get the nerfs and the buffs to bring them a little bit closer to the middle so the game is a little bit more balanced. So the best class setup for the HDR is going to be a lightweight suppressor, the TAC laser, a 7-round ammo mag, as well as the F-TAC Stalker Scout and Sleight of Hand. This is actually one of the best class setups I've found, and it's primarily a quick scoper type of class setup, but regardless of that fact, you can still use it if you're going to go ahead and hard scope. At the end of the day, the sniping isn't all that difficult if you're hard scoping in this game, just because the game gives you a ton of aim assist if you're on console. So coming in at that 9th spot is actually the FR556, also sometimes called the Famas. This weapon actually has a 1.09 KD, and the best class setup for this weapon, in my opinion, is some kind of sight, a monolithic suppressor, the FR 24.4 sniper barrel, as well as the stipple grip tape and the FF5 tac wrap. And I'm not actually all that surprised that this weapon makes it this high on the list of the weapons that are the best in the game, just because it has such a great one burst potential, especially when you line up this particular class setup. And that one burst potential is fastest in the rifle category at under 100 milliseconds, which is absolutely insane. You're going to one burst them and they have no chance to do anything. They could try to hit you. Even if they land every shot as a headshot, you're still going to kill them faster. That being said, the weakness of this weapon, in my opinion, is if you're not able to kill them in one burst, if you end up having to kill them in 2 or 3 bursts, the time to kill significantly drops and it completely drops off as being one of the better weapons. So I'd highly recommend using this on a little bit of the smaller maps. So that's either the 6v6 or some of the smaller 10v10 maps, and probably not recommended at all on any of the ground war maps unless you're going to be fighting for those close quarters engagements. So next up on the list is actually the MP5, and this one also boasts the same KD of a 1.09. And with this one being an SMG, it definitely excels on the smaller maps, and there's a couple different class setup variations, but the overall best one in my opinion is probably going to be the monolithic integral suppressor, the F-TAC collapsible stock, as well as the 10mm rounds, the stipple grip tape, and lastly the commando foregrip. And I don't think this one's a sleeper by any means. I think most people know that this is definitely one of the best SMGs in the game. I've spent a good amount of time playing with it, and I've gotten a lot of feeds with this weapon, and that's despite it only having 30 rounds in that 10mm mag, because when you actually equip that magazine, the shots to kill is typically going to be around 3 to 5 in those closer range engagements. And that brings us to the 7th ranked weapon on this list, and that's actually going to be the MP7 with a 1.1 KD. And the best class setup I like for this weapon is actually a compensator, the FSS recon barrel, the commando foregrip, the 50 round mag for the ammunition, as well as the stipple grip tape for that faster aim down sight time. And it's no wonder that a lot of people are 50-50 between this one and the MP5 because they are considerably close in that time to kill category. So it really comes down to preference and play style. I think you're going to be a little bit better off with the class setup you can get with an MP7, but the MP5 still does melt, so it's really one of those trade-offs. So let me know down in the comments section, which one do you guys actually prefer? Are you guys on the MP5 side, or do you guys prefer the MP7? That's going to bring us to the 6th ranked weapon on this list, and this one's actually a little bit of a surprise for me. I had no clue that it would actually rank this high, and it's actually going to be the FN Scar 17 with a 1.1 KD. And the class setup I like for this is an optic, a compensator, the Forge Tack 20-inch long barrel, as well as the Commando foregrip and the stipple grip tape. And the one reason why I'm really surprised about this weapon is even though it has a very fast time to kill that's very consistent, especially if you're able to land headshots even at range, I just assumed that the recoil would be a bit much for the average player, but I guess apparently I was wrong. So if you haven't had the opportunity to try out the Scar, I definitely recommend it. So moving a little bit higher on the list, at the number 5 spot, we're gonna find the Kilo 141 with the same KD of 1.1. And early on in the game's life cycle and even within the beta, I'm really a fan of this weapon. I think the best class setup is going to be having an optic, the compensator, the Singard Arms 19.8-inch Prowler barrel, as well as the Commando foregrip and the stippled grip tape. And I've always known that this was a dominant weapon ever since I did all the testing, because when you actually look at this weapon side to side with the M4, it actually deals the exact same amount of damage at further range. But the biggest downside compared to the M4 is that the rate of fire is slightly slower by around 70 RPM. And once you factor that into the overall time to kill, it ends up being a little bit slower by about 15 milliseconds. Or to simplify that even further, 1 frame on console at 60 FPS. And I'm sure most of you have had a chance to try this weapon out, considering it is the first rifle you unlock within the game. So I'm sure you've had plenty of opportunities since level 4 to actually experiment and play with this weapon, so you mostly know how good it can possibly be. So now I think we're dipping into the part of the list where we could see some nerfs on some of these weapons to kind of bring them a little bit closer in line with the weapons we've talked about so far and the rest of the weapons within the game. So the weapon taking that 4th ranked spot on this list is actually going to be the AK-47, which I've called as being one of the most dominant weapons in the game. And personally, I don't think it's really become a huge problem within the overall meta because it's such a high level unlock. Not enough people have had a chance to get their hands on it. And obviously there's people that'll come in the comment section saying that it's not all that strong, it has a ton of recoil, the average player is not going to be able to control it. But based on the objective data, it sounds like those people would be wrong the same way I was wrong about the Scar. So the class setup I'm liking for the AK-47 is an optic, the compensator, the 23-inch RPK barrel, as well as the Ranger foregrip and the rubberized grip tape. So again, I'm not saying that this weapon should be nerfed, but if it did receive a nerf, I wouldn't be surprised. So the next weapon on the list is actually going to be the Oden with a 1.12 KD, and I'm actually surprised it's as high on this list as it is. Obviously, when I used this weapon, I thought it was pretty good, but I didn't think it was like top 5 good. So the class setup I'm liking for this weapon is an optic, the compensator, the Oden factory 810mm barrel, as well as the Commando foregrip and the stipple grip tape. What I did talk about in my overall Oden video is that the overall iron sights aren't all that bad, so if you want to go ahead and drop the optic for more ammo, that is definitely a good choice to go as well. So next up on the list is an LMG that I actually thought was pretty good, but I didn't think it was this good. I've had a lot of people tell me in the comments section, you need to check this weapon out. The PKM LMG actually has a whopping 1.16 KD, which based on how that ranks compared to the rest of the weapons, I would almost expect for this weapon to get a nerf in the very near future, in addition to the nerf it got during the 1.08 update. So the best class setup in my opinion for this one is going to be geared towards increasing mobility and overall ADS speed. So the attachments I like on the weapon are the 18.2-inch compact barrel, whatever optic you want to go with, stipple grip tape, the operator foregrip, and the Forge Tack ultra light stock. So that brings us to the top of the list, and I'm actually going to give you an honorable mention, which is just a 725. This weapon actually has the same 1.16 KD, which is just insane to me for it being a shotgun. Typically the shotguns that we have in the game, if you look at all the rest of the categories, they're right around that 0.9 to 1 KD ratio, which seems balanced to me. But something that has one of the highest KDs in the game being a shotgun, that just seems ridiculous. You don't even really need a best class set for this one. even the default with no attachments, you're still going to be able to destroy with it until this thing is nerfed into the ground. And that's going to bring us to the number 1 weapon on this list, which is no surprise. It actually has the highest KD in the entire game with a 1.17. So the best class setup in my opinion for the M4 is actually going to be an optic, the compensator, the Corvus custom marksman barrel. Some people like to go the M16 barrel. That's really a matter of preference. And then you got the commando foregrip and the stipple grip tape. And it's just insane to see the KD that high considering this weapon has been nerfed already 3 times. So we'll kind of see how that pans out. That's pretty much my list of the top 10 best weapons currently in Modern Warfare. If you did enjoy the video or found it helpful in any way, please do me a favor of hitting that like button. And if you're brand new to the channel or one of those people not currently subscribed, if you made it to this point in the video, just go ahead and hit the red subscribe button with notifications on. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.